Hey, Too Vague listeners, this is Andrew, part-time, sometimes co-host of the Too Vague podcast, where I talk about vague things with Ben in a vague way. I'm selling a little funsie on a Crowdfundr campaign. Now, if you're familiar with Crowdfundr, it is like Kickstarter, but different. This campaign is not an all or nothing campaign. It's a pay for it and you'll get it campaign. But crowdfundr.com/dragonpin, the thing that I'm making is a little cool enamel pin with a dragon on it and the words "Advanced Dungeons Have Dragons" displayed over it in an awesome way. The link is going to be in the show notes because Ben is cool like that. Go take a look, check it out. If you want one, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Click local pickup for the option on delivery, and then shoot me a little message, or I'll shoot you a message. You just say, like, I heard about it on the Too Vague podcast. I will pick up the shipping charge. I'll work out with you what the address should be, because you need a little reward for listening to this podcast. So totally go to the crowdfundr.com/dragonpin. If you like what you see and you don't want to pay shipping, just to do that little hack. And I don't know, I'll talk to you on the podcast in a little bit. I think we're talking about... Ben, what are we talking about in this one? Just put it in. Punk. Gosh, I'm too tired to remember that we did an awesome punk rock episode. You're going to listen to it now. And we forgot to talk about the Mr. T experience, but you'll love it. Ben, edit as much of this out as you want to. Thanks for your support, and have fun out there. Stay safe, and Advanced Dungeons Have Dragons. ADHD, baby.
Hello, my name is Ben.
And I'm Andrew.
And we are your hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games. Video games.
Video games. I've been playing one lately.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that and what we've been up to.
It's a rare one for me to actually have been playing a video game.
Mark it on your calendars, folks. It's Andrew's New Year's resolution to play more games.
Play more games. They need a little bit more escapism.
Especially with the inauguration coming up and all this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
In any case, what are you up to these days, man? Besides playing this game we're going to talk about.
Too many things. I'm writing and doodling. All kinds of crafty stuff. I got my first draft of the ADHD book in with my publisher. Maybe in a couple of weeks, they'll have feedback for me. And in a couple of weeks, I mean a couple of months. At some point.
Time has no meaning.
I mean, everything since November has just like been a weird blur, and that's fine. Yeah, so I'm still full-time at home with CJ.
Right.
And part-time doing everything else. But yeah, I've got an art show coming up at my local coffee shop.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be putting my weird doodles and drawings of a demonic character that is 25% different from Cookie Monster.
Okay. 25%, exactly 25%.
At least 25%. You need to be at least 25% different to get out under the parody clause of copyright law.
Really? How did they make that determination?
I don't know, but I'm telling him he's at least 25%. It's Cookie Demon. It doesn't matter.
This one's got goat eyes.
Ooh, goat eyes. That would have been good. I know, but you know, if you follow the old little link to the TeePublic stuff, there should be a cool picture of the Cookie Demon.
Yes.
You can buy him on a shirt or a coffee mug, or just look at him or steal the picture. I don't really care. The joy is in making it.
Is he still known as the Veggie Monster? Did they walk that back?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was something like that. Yeah. Cookie Monster also like veggies.
Okay.
Man, that was so many presidents ago.
I mean, I guess that would make him a vegetarian, sort of, because cookies, depending on whether or not you use eggs as the binding agent.
Does Cookie Monster actually eat anything? I think he just like destroys food and sprays crumbs everywhere.
Oh, yeah. You mean the actual puppet? Puppet doesn't do really anything, right?
What? Isn't that a puppet? I'm not.
Oh, he's not a puppet?
Talking about puppet.
Oh, okay. And Santa Claus does not exist.
Stop breaking kayfabe.
Oh,
Yeah, there's that, and then I'll just have a lot of my weird drawings and comics and stuff up at Piper Cafe in Portland. If anybody listens to this show in the Portland area, that'll be
What is the name again?
Piper
Cafe,
65th and Foster.
65th and Foster, for all of your coffee and doodling needs.
Coffee and doodling needs. Yeah.
Doodle
Yeah.
looking, I don't know. Doodle watching. I remember when we used to hang out at the Safehouse, which was a local coffee shop.
Yeah.
I would say, "Hey, what are you doing, man?" And you'd say, "I'm just doodling and dicking around."
That's right. And that's what I was doing. Yep.
Exactly. Now you're doodling for pay.
Hopefully. Yeah. No, every once in a while I do get a little pay. It's pretty great. Yeah. I'll actually put price tags on my art this time.
Okay. All right.
Last time I didn't.
Did you have inquiries?
No.
Oh, okay.
But actually what I did last time, I also had my zines for sale. And so, yeah, people bought my zines. And
You're going to have probably the same setup with zines and your artwork there.
I'll do something. Yeah, I haven't figured out the merch setup. I think I might try to make some like prints or maybe some trading cards.
Cool.
Like some Sporky trading cards or something.
Yeah. Do you need any Too Vague podcast cards or anything, or do you got some?
Too Vague podcast cards. Oh, you mean to like...
I mean, if you don't want them, that's fine. You don't have to hype up the show.
No, I will absolutely hype up the show.
I mean, you don't have to now that we've got the Lost Boys. What's his name?
Oh, Alex Winter?
Alex Winter. Yeah.
Alex Winter told us how to like get our Bluesky tags verified.
So now we're verified on Bluesky. I'm calling it Bluesky. I don't care what
Well,
anyone calls it.
Bluesky. Yeah. Why not?
Exactly. The Bluesky.
We're figuring out the Bluesky.
Yep.
And then like there's also like a comics anthology I want to make. I'm going to have to put out a call for submissions sometime in the new year.
And it's just going to be fellow artists who want to do comics.
The theme is going to be like neurodivergent comics artists.
Okay.
Your ADHD and your autism and your epilepsy and Tourette's and dyslexia and everything. I mean, I don't think it'll be hard to find comics artists with any of the old neurodiversity going on, because it seems like it's a medium that calls to people who...
Yeah.
I've already thrown some feelers out and there's some people who are interested. So
Very cool.
I want to make it happen.
I don't qualify, I don't think. Do I need a doctor's note?
Not for me. Neurodivergent people and allies are welcome to submit. So if you're like cool with being an ally, that's fine.
I am totally cool being an ally. I think I am.
You are definitely not my enemy, so you must be my ally.
Okay. That makes me feel good.
You're more than that. You're a friend. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, we've for like decades of whatever.
Lots of whatever in there.
Decades of dicking around. Yeah.
Yeah. Either at trivia nights at TGI McScratchy Funland or whatever.
Yeah.
Remember those days?
The old NTN.
The NTN trivia. So what I've been doing.
What have you been doing, Ben?
Well, funny you ask. Boy, I've been playing lots of games.
No way.
Is that yeah, pretty weird, huh? Kind of out of
Weird,
character.
Man. Jeez.
Here's what is going on with me. Bash has found a new way to wake me up in the morning. And that way is he walks on my face. He just walks back and forth on my face. I'm like,
not cool, Bash.
yeah, I try and put the pillow on my face and he noses it off and then it starts walking on my face again. Just walks back and forth, just pacing on my face. I don't know where he picked that up, but apparently it's effective because he's been doing it for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I allow it because, Bash is getting up there in years. He's steadily approaching 21 years old, which is like 100 or so human years. That's been happening. And then also the games I've been playing, like I said on the previous show, we did on the word circuitous. Little time travel here, just so you know.
It's in your past, but my future.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, after the Pizza Bandit episode, the iteration, I'm like, I'm all ready for time travel.
Yeah. So I've been playing a few games. I've been also trying to figure out what my thesis is for the Slavic Punk old timer game, which I talked about last week a little bit.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah. Slavic Punk old timer. It's not without its problems. The gameplay is a little slow, but atmospherically, they knocked it out of the park with the cyberpunk dark and dingy sort of atmosphere. And some things they did really well, but then other things they didn't. one of the issues was localization. So I'm trying to think of if there's a thesis involving localization. Do you think most game reviewers do thesis statements when they review?
Oh boy, the thesis statement.
Yeah, it sounds a little formal.
It's one of those things. It's like it's more of a pedagogical tool. They teach you in high school you need to have a thesis statement, and then they sort of reinforce that in college. And yes, you do want to have your main idea. That is the thesis, right?
Right.
But you don't necessarily need to tie a bow on it and say, this is my thesis. Sometimes you like start writing and you sort of find what your point is as you go.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you start out like, this is the thing I want to say. And then you go, this is the fun thing about the thesis statement that I realized when I was taking my my little stint as an English teacher, and we're doing the old example of persuasive writing. Was it Jonathan Swift's Modest Proposal?
Oh, yeah. Is it about eating children?
Well, it's not about eating children.
Okay.
It's about letting the Irish sell their children to be eaten by the English because the English have taken everything else of value from them.
Gotcha.
It isn't advocating cannibalism. Yes, it's a satirical piece, but it's like he takes 12 paragraphs before the thesis statement is actually made. So that is not how English teachers in any classroom teach it, but that is actually how people who write cool stuff do things.
Oh.
They'll walk you along for a while before getting to the main point. You know, sometimes there's a lot of introductory thing. And so, yeah, he spends 12 paragraphs talking about, well, this is the situation in Ireland.
Parents go away on a week's vacation. Yes.
No, yeah, actually, that does have a same kind of structure of, Will Smith, and DJ Jazzy Jeff really setting it up for a while before
they tell you what the deal is.
Yeah. I'm just like,
yo, Holmes, smell you later.
Exactly. Parents just don't understand.
No, they don't. But
similar. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a creative versus, I mean, my friend Eric, who was on the show last week, he is a former writer for Sports Illustrated, and he did a lot of articles there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had him read my first Substack review article to kind of help me out, he couldn't find the thesis. And that's usually up front, is what he said, because what is your purpose? This is a review, right?
He's got that journalism background, which is absolutely key for journalism, is like you got to hit them with the main point up front.
Right.
Whereas like, long form narrative essays can mess around in different ways. And like a Substack, you probably should approach like it from that journalistic standpoint, is like, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about.
I like doing the creative stuff in the middle as opposed to leading up to the thesis. But I mean,
exactly.
Maybe that's just because I like that structure. I mean, it tells you what you're in for up front. And then technically you could just skip to the end and it'll just say, yes, this is.
I mean, if we're really going to go into like classical structuring of, if you like look at like the narrative structure of like, your classical epic poems.
Right.
Like the basically is like, well, it's got to start in the middle of the action. So you know what this thing's about. And then it goes back to the beginning and then.
Right.
So it is a similar kind of idea. You want to be giving people a good idea of what it's all about up front. Yeah, so I guess that can be your thesis statement. Yeah.
For me, the thesis, I think, is going to be something in the area of atmosphere does not make, just because it feels like you're in a film noir and you have the different archetypes and all that, that doesn't absolve it from having game components and having a compelling story. You still need those things. And part of the problem with this is, I'm guessing, is localization, because it's all in broken English, Russian, that kind of Slavic, obviously it's called Slavic punk, but I don't think that it needs that necessarily, the broken English, and it actually kind of hurts the presentation a little bit. It doesn't sound like it's real. Maybe you could do something like, remember Hunt for Red October?
This is exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, Hunt for Red October. They said, let's just sidestep the whole broken English thing. You're just going to have Sean Connery talking like Sean Connery.
Right. Even in Russian, he's talking like Sean Connery. But
he's that good of an actor.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite movies up there.
It's a good one.
So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing outside of games. But then inside of games, I've been playing an assortment, which I'll talk about probably mostly on the next show with Cheyenne.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a game that I got a code for. Now I can talk about it. It's beyond the date for embargo.
Yeah, don't talk about it before this time.
I don't quite understand. Because, I mean, it's a big name thing. Like, if you've got a small project, you've got a trailer out there. What is the purpose of not allowing... It's an indie game. That's probably a debate for another time, but what do you think?
I bet it's more of like a marketing strategy. It's like they don't want reviews to come out too long before the actual game does. Because if there's too long of a time period, people will forget about it. They want it to come out close enough to the release date so that the buzz will be fresh when it's released.
Could it also be because they're still working out the bugs? Do you think?
That's probably part of it, but I think it has more to do with they don't want too much publicity going on about a game that's not available for purchase yet.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense.
I don't think there's anything more nefarious than that. It's not even that nefarious.
Okay. Well, just to say the game that I'm playing and not put too many details to it, it is a game called Uncle Chop's Robot Shop.
What? I'm in.
Or, I'm sorry, Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, not robot.
Oh, Rocket Shot.
Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop.
Still. Yeah, that's still cool.
Yeah.
So the sequel will be Robot Shop.
Possibly. You do meet robots and you do fix AIs in rocket ships. It's an interesting experiment. I don't know if you remember when I talked about, I think it was with Nora, this game called Papers, Please, a game designed by this gentleman named Lucas Pope. In Papers, Please, it's essentially... It's sort of a Russian Slavic kind of thing where you are a guy who reviews people's papers as they're crossing the lines of countries. And you have a whole bunch of rules that you have to follow. Mm-hmm. And you have a whole bunch of things you need to check. Licenses, different papers they have. And you're presented with certain situations where you have to make sort of a moral decision as to whether or not you do one thing or another. It's a really great reading and following instructions or making sure that everything is in place kind of game. And Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, it kind of reminds me of that insofar as a lot of what you're doing is looking at manuals.
Looking at manual.
They could call it Uncle Chop's IKEA Furniture Shop, but no, it's not like that. The instructions are, some of them are really easy. And some of them are really difficult, and you got to figure out what you need to do in order to fix, like the AI thing. That was a more advanced one, but it's a matter of figuring out the puzzle. And then once you get that, then through additional playthroughs, you don't have to spend as much time reading the manual because you know how to do it. So like changing the oil, I've got that down now. I know what to check as far as what's broken. I know what to check as far as all these things. So then I don't need to consult the manual anymore on that, but then you get more and more difficult tasks. Now, the question I had for you as a neurodivergent person.
Yes.
Neurodiverse? What are we calling it?
Neurodivergent is for a single person. Neurodiverse is like describing a group where there's more than one neurotype present in it.
Gotcha. Yeah. As a neurodivergent, autistic.
And ADHD now.
Ooh, geez, they just keep on piling those on, yeah?
Yeah. I got more diagnoses in my medical record than I realized.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah. I was like, oh. I looked at it. I was like, oh, they got generalized anxiety disorder in there too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Those things I have, but I wouldn't consider myself neurodivergent just because I've got depression and anxiety, and I don't know if that is false or if I should consider myself that.
I would say depression and anxiety are things that happen to lots of people across all of it. Yeah, I would. Those are more like, oh yeah, these are reactions to living in this world.
These are kind of symptoms.
Yeah, you make
symptoms of life.
Symptoms of life. Now, I would say like some other conditions might make you more prone to anxiety.
Okay.
I'd be like, that one, it's more of a universal.
Yeah. It might be more impactful depending on.
Yeah. It's like, so what is causing the anxiety? And it's like,
exactly.
Well, it's usually caused by a pattern of things that happened to you.
And that can be any number of patterns.
Yeah, but it's basically, oh yeah, I've had a lot of bad experiences that make me feel like another bad experience will happen. It's just, some people who like ADHD is just a big one where they just have a lifetime history of people telling them they're doing things wrong or interrupting, or can't you just sit still? They have a lifetime of that. And so they just sort of come into situations primed for things to go wrong.
Okay.
Anxiety will come with a lot of stuff, but also anybody can have gone through things in their life that could make them feel anxious. So
you can be empathetic towards that condition, I guess.
Anybody could have anxiety.
PTSD is extreme, sort of, right?
And actually, since PTSD does sort of rewire how your brain works, that is technically another neurodivergence.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because the people who talk about neurodivergence are like, yeah, we're going to cover as much as we can.
Is it an inclusion thing, sort of?
Actually,
you know what? Don't answer that.
That's another episode.
Okay, that's another episode. Yeah, let's.
I'm like, don't open that can of worms.
Gotcha.
I'll talk about it in my Substack.
I wanted to just touch on the question I had about this game, as far as being someone who is neurodivergent. You probably can't generalize this, but rules in a rule book, how to do things, right? Putting furniture together. Is that something that people who are autistic, is that an enjoyment component?
For some, yeah.
Okay.
The neurodiversity umbrella is huge.
Right.
Even within autism, it's sort of within the autistic community that the term neurodiverse and neurodiversity came up. And when it first came up, it was specifically to talk about how, there's a bunch of us who are autistic, but we are all autistic in different ways.
Okay.
So at the very beginning, the first people who were using that word were really just looking at their own community saying, oh, wow, being on the autism spectrum, there's no one single way that it is. But there is a trend of people who like systems and like having manuals and rule books. That is definitely a trend amongst many people who are autistic. Not all, but many.
That's what I thought. I didn't want to make an assumption like that. But,
yeah. No, it's like, it's so wide open.
This game goes through loops where you're doing this stuff over and over again. Like I said, when we talk about it next week, I'll get into more details about it, but it just seems like it's trying to be sort of a game that's inspired a little bit by Rick and Morty. It's got vulgar stuff in it. I'll give my opinions later, but it's a fun exercise that could have been for everyone to enjoy, but since it's got all its vulgar stuff in it, it's got a target audience of more adultish people.
This reminds me of a funny anecdote. This happened when over Thanksgiving, because my parents came and visited, and we went to a family restaurant, Elmer's, Portland area, better than IHOP. It's good stuff. So we went there, and we were waiting for our table, and in the little waiting area, there was a claw machine.
Oh.
I know, that'll come back later.
Segue.
But anyway, before we even get there, so CJ was interested in the things in the claw machine. My mom was holding her, and then she was looking at things, and there's a couple little Rick and Morty plushies in there, and she doesn't know anything about Rick and Morty, but she looks at the Morty one and is like, this one looks like he's worried something terrible is going to happen. Then she looks at Rick, this one looks like something terrible did happen to him. And I was like, you don't need to watch the show. You get it.
You've got it.
In a nutshell, that's exactly
exactly the show. Yeah. That's funny.
And it's I can't explain Rick and Morty to my mom,
but she's already got it. She's got it down.
She's got the thesis statement.
Exactly. Well, claw machines. That's an excellent segue into the game that you and I are both playing.
Oh, yeah.
I sent you a gift. At least one of my gifts I sent you recently, you're actually playing with. The other gift, I don't know if you'll ever, but that's fine.
I will. It's, yeah, I will. It's sitting there on top of my Blu-ray player.
Okay.
So it's not in the Blu-ray player, it's on top of it.
For those who are familiar with your history on the show, it's the movie Tenet.
It's the movie Tenet, which Ben wants me to watch, and I will eventually.
Yeah, even though you hate what's his face.
I feel like Christopher Nolan, he makes popular movies. He's doing his job. He's selling tickets.
Right.
But sometimes it's like every movie of his that I watch, there's something in it that just rubs me in a way that I don't like.
Okay.
But that doesn't ruin it. And I will watch Tenet. I tried to watch it on an airplane once. Can you imagine trying to watch any movie that requires any kind of thought on an airplane?
No.
No,
You
yeah.
could probably simulate it by playing airplane mode and then watching the movie a little bit, but I don't know.
That's not incentivizing me to watch the movie.
No.
But
Back to the claw machine game.
the claw machine. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A game that I found on Steam, actually, called Dungeon Clawler. It's by this game developer. They're based in Zurich, Switzerland, called Stray Fawn Studios. They're like a 10-person studio, and they make a lot of games. The one that I saw that made a lot of people excited was this game called The Wandering Village, which is about this village that you're supposed to manage that's on the back of a giant walking animal of some sort.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and they do a lot of simulation style games. So this Dungeon Clawler is sort of a departure from that. Do you want to describe what this game is to the folks at home?
I'm playing on the iOS on my phone, which is probably hard on my eyes because there's some tiny details in the game. I really should put it on the iPad, but I didn't. Yeah, that's okay. And that's partly because I keep forgetting I have an iPad.
Okay.
Weird first world problem to have, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so the game itself. Yeah, the character you start out with is Sir Bunalot. Yeah, he's a little bunny, and like in the initial animation, you can see that apparently he lost big time in some gambling thing, and his paw is severed and taken away by the loan shark guy. So he's on a quest to get his lucky paw back,
right?
And so he's had his paw like replaced by a claw. Every room that he goes into in this dungeon that he has to go all the way through. Through 20 rooms to get to the boss guy again.
Right.
So every room has this claw machine mechanic or mechanism, we'll say. You have to like put the claw over what items you want to grab, and those are the items you'll use in that turn. So then you unlock other items depending on luck and chance, and you get to choose which one do you want, and then you unlock other characters. Right now I had fun with Garbage Greg.
I've unlocked him, but I haven't used him yet.
He's good for doing stuff with plastic.
Okay, that makes sense.
Different items are made of different things, and you can go to the alchemist and change what material they're made out of, which can be handy if you want more things made out of metal so the magnet can swoop them off anything. But if you turn it to metal, then the wood oil doesn't work on the shields anymore. So, everything's a trade-off. It sounds like I actually played this game, right?
You actually did play this game.
I did my homework for this episode.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you're enjoying it. It seems like it's a...
Oh, I am. Yeah. I am enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. My only criticism of the game would be I want more stuff, and it's got some diversity in the little games and the little bonus rooms and stuff, but I think it could do with a little bit more there and maybe some more diversity in the powers and but I mean, it's a good first effort, honestly. It's such a great idea.
I mean, and maybe that's all you need with like an iOS game.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't have to, go on forever and ever and ever. You can keep going after you beat the main boss, but there's no point. It's just everything gets stronger, and it's like, well, it's the same stuff though. It's not nothing changes.
I try and see what level I get is the highest level. I think I got up to level 31 with Clawcula.
Count Clawcula. I like Count Clawcula.
Yeah. I think I unlocked Dolly, which is a voodoo doll kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. I've been playing Dolly lately. Yeah. The damage Dolly takes will also, in a little bit of it gets thrown back on the enemy. It's weird. There
is some diversity in the characters and all those things. So I it's a game that I'll probably play for a little while longer. It's just like it's a fun little time waster of a game, and big thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up. It's fun. It does the job.
So that's what we've been up to.
What we've been up to, yeah.
Yep. Speaking of, I don't know what we spoke of, but speaking of potato snacks.
Potato snacks. That's right. Do you have your Pringles ready?
I do have my Pringles ready. We are doing, it's a long awaited return, I think. Maybe for some people, maybe for others, not so much.
Pandora, are you ready for this?
The long awaited return of Andrew's sensory adventure. This time, I'm joining him on the adventure, and we are going to do it in stereo. Yes. You want to start the festivities?
Sure.
Okay.
And I'll just... I was at the store and I saw this limited time only Pringles bourbon barbecue.
Yeah.
I don't know how Pringles does it, but they do it over and over again. They keep giving us different variations on barbecue.
It's no scorching medium, but
Scorching medium. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Maybe it is.
Scorching medium wasn't actually that bad once I had it. Yeah. But we'll see. All right. I'm going to pop once you pop, you can't stop.
Okay.
Pop
Are you taking the top off? Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. And then
what I'm going to do is I'm going to line them up and post. So it sounds.
line them up and post. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if I really.
And then.
Okay. And then do
I ripped the thing off. Sorry. You're talking about lining them up, and I'm like, I'm out of sync.
That's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Like I said, I can do it in post. And if I really wanted to get fancy, I could do one on the left channel and one on the right channel. I don't think I want to go through that level of detail, but what's the first thing we do? Again, you
got to get the bouquet, the aroma.
It's got a spiciness.
It's like barbecue with something extra.
Yeah, there's something in there that I can't quite put my finger on.
Yeah.
That's different from the normal barbecue chips smell.
Yeah. Is it a bourbon smell?
It could be. I mean, I don't know.
Barrel-aged Pringles.
Okay. And then now we've got the...
Are you ready for the mouthfeel?
Yeah, let's do the mouthfeel. Right.
Mouthfeel.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't... Is there some sort of flavor there that... I'm not sure if it's bourbon or not.
It's
but
not...
It's like, kind of a vinegary sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely vinegar. Yeah. Which is not bourbon.
I just did 5 chips together. See if I can get some more flavor.
It might be, they didn't do the full aging process. I think they like to age bourbon for at least 10 years in the barrel.
Maybe that's the problem.
I don't think these Pringles have been in this can for 10 years. So
no, they age them in the tubes.
Age them in the tubes.
Yeah. They make some special wooden that would be good marketing. Just make them out of wooden tubes. Take some wooden tubes, barrel.
I just got a whiff of something in that last bite, but it doesn't really remind me of Kentucky bourbon.
No. And it kind of changes the barbecue a little bit. I mean, what it tastes like to me is like regular barbecue chips with vinegar chips.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, which, yeah, I can see why it's for limited time only.
Well, I mean, it's
like, what are they going to do with it?
That's no hot honey. I wouldn't call this a loser necessarily. It's just not what I would normally get. I mean, occasionally I'll get the barbecue chips, but this doesn't really add anything to it, I don't think, other than a little bit of
I think the vinegary thing is like an evidence of the attempt, the high proof bourbon.
Right.
Like this, like
if you put your nose up to it and you inhale deeply, you kind of have like a stingy sort of thing going on.
Yeah, it's like almost, like if you get 5 or 6 of them at a time, you almost can sort of imagine you might be smelling something that used to be in a bourbon bottle.
I'm seeing if there's anything in here that would be remotely bourbon-y. I don't see anything.
Maltodextrin.
That's what it is.
Maltodextrin, yeah, that is...
Are you serious? You think it's a maltodextrin?
I think that is the closest thing to malted barley might be in this can. Yeah.
And it's not very close. But anyway.
It might, you get malt from, like, maltodextrin. That's just saying right-handed malt sugar. Like, malt is you get when you do something funny to grain to make the sugars kind of come out.
Could it be the disodium glutamate? I don't know. Probably not.
That sounds like a preservative.
Maybe that's what the problem is. You've got these chips. They last forever, right? But the problem with that is you've got to age them that much longer. So if they last a really long time, how can they age? If you age the liquor for 10 years, just based on how preservative-ridden Pringles are, you probably have to wait for 100 years. So maybe that's a problem. Maybe you put them away in the cupboard for your grandchildren.
Well, it's got wheat starch in it too, man.
It's good.
Wheat starch.
Wheat starch. Okay.
Bourbon flavor.
I mean, it says bourbon barbecue naturally and artificially flavored. So conceivably, it could have been actual bourbon. Oh, boy. Ooh, belching. I got the bourbon after the belch.
Yeah.
I did.
The bourbon after the belch. So it needs to process a little further.
Maybe, because I did get a whiff of something that sort of...
extra fermentation cycle in the stomach. And then, yeah. Well, you know what? For Pringles, I mean, they're not bad. Way better than the Philly cheesesteak Pringles.
Okay. I
think I didn't like those, right?
I
don't remember liking those.
They were much better than the hot honey, but you said they were okay.
Oh, yeah.
It did taste like a Philly cheesesteak.
I can't remember which one smelled like middle school, but
the Minecraft suspicious stew.
Maybe. Yeah, that's probably what smelled like middle school. Yeah.
No. She smelled just like soup. She smelled just like beef vegetable soup. All right. Well, that's a
wrap. We didn't even talk about the word yet.
Right. That's a wrap on the segment.
On the segment, yeah, I was like, oh, we're done. We're 54 minutes in.
Let's get into punks. So the word this week is the word punk. It's sort of inspired by the game I was playing, Slavic Punk. What are your thoughts on using the suffix punk? Or should we wait until after I do the definition? Let's wait. What do you think?
Do the definition.
Okay.
Merriam-Webster?
I'm going with Oxford because I use the comma. So I might as well stay true to the Oxford.
Ooh, 10 points in Scrabble.
That's right. You get the Scrabble points. It's probably the K.
The P is 3, the K is 5.
Gotcha. And the N is nothing. Yeah. Okay.
N is 1, yeah.
Let's get into the definition. We got a noun and an adjective for this one this week.
There's a verb too.
You're right. There is a verb. So the noun is a loud and aggressive form of rock music popular in the late 1970s and early 1980s.
And it's never been heard since.
I disagree, but okay.
Oh, no, I disagree too. I was like...
That was sarcasm, right?
That was sarcasm. That was me going like, well...
I mean, one of your favorite bands, I would consider them punk. The Dead Milkmen.
The Dead Milkmen, yes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my favorite bands might actually be considered punk.
Still with the first noun, an admirer or player of punk rock, typically characterized by colored spiked hair and clothing decorated with safety pins or zippers. Informal, in North America, a worthless person often used as a general term of abuse, a criminal or a hoodlum.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it says derogatory. U.S. Let me expand the definition. Nope, let's not.
Nah, we can skip that one. Yeah.
What it says is a passive gay man.
That's
It even gave me an exclamation point and I didn't even acknowledge it. But anyway, an inexperienced young person, a novice, is a punk.
Yeah.
Then let's go on to the adjectives relating to punk rock and its associated subculture. The verb is informal. To trick or deceive.
That's right.
Like Ashton Kutcher did.
Ashton Kutcher punked everybody all the time.
I didn't use that in that sense. It also says defeat. Is it possible that that was made up by Ashton and the group? I never used punk in that way.
Yeah, no, I never did.
Did you watch Punked at all?
I never did.
It was like
Candid Camera?
Yeah, it was aggressive Candid Camera.
Aggressive Candid Camera, yeah.
As opposed to Candid Camera, which was this, we thought it would be funny.
Is that your Allen Funt?
Yes, that's my Allen Funt. Yep. Origin is English, spunk, combined with English, punk, late 17th century, as a noun of uncertain origin, probably related to spunk. Modern use of the adjective is perhaps influenced by definition number 1. Use over time, it's pretty steady and then shoots up crazily in the 1970s. I wonder why. Maybe it's...
Funny. Your definition skip...
Which one did it skip?
Basically, for a prostitute. Old-timey word for a lady of the night.
Okay. Not a passive gay man in prison slang.
That's so weird. Merriam-Webster has this dictionary. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Slaying a young man used as a sexual partner by another man, especially in a prison.
Yes,
That's
exactly. That's
how
the one.
Merriam-Webster put it.
That's the one that I got the exclamation point on.
We're not slut shaming anybody, but
No, God, no. There is a missing definition
mhm.
as far as I'm concerned, but it was a punk stick. You had a little stick with a glowing ember on it, and you would use it to light fuses and stuff, like for fireworks, or you could use it for lighting gas stoves.
Right. No, I've heard of that usage. Yeah.
Yeah. The ones that we used, there was a really, really fine line between a punk and an incense stick.
Yeah. No, I remember this.
So that is the word punk. What are your thoughts? The first thing you think of when you think of the word punk?
Anarchy.
Anarchy?
Not really. That's the first word that jumped out of my mouth. But being a zinester, I feel like I've been like punk adjacent for a long time.
Like a do-it-yourself thing.
Yeah, the DIY punk was something that really overlapped with the zine stuff. The main thing about punk in general, as far as like when we're looking back at the music or like the punk scenes that surrounded it, is this sort of impatience with the traditional means of getting things done.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to wait for a music label to come around and sign us. We're going to create our own music label. We're going to organize our own shows and figure out our own networks.
Part of it is also going against the grain.
Yeah.
These guys think we need them. No, we don't need them.
No, exactly. There's that. There's like a lot of things. My friend Joe Beal, who has much more punk cred than I do on account of actually like living in the punk scene for real, but he's a zinester publisher guy. Right. But I sort of asked him, I was like, do I have like the cred to talk about punk? And he's like, the thing I like to tell people about punk is that it's a community where you can get from it exactly what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some that are like, I just hate the establishment and I want to just be contrary, and you can find that. Or you can be like, oh, I want to build something different and figure out how to do things myself. You can find that. Or I want to have fantastically spiky hair, and that's why I'm in this, it's like
it could be the aesthetic too, is what you're saying.
There's part of the aesthetic. Yeah. Like, and none of those are wrong is the thing. Is like, you get out of it what you put into it. So, but unfortunately, some of it has been violent.
I don't appreciate the skinhead, that element, or.
Yeah, right. The skinhead and the oi part. But then there's like a lot of the riot girl.
I think the origin is rebellion, more of an attitude.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that's the thing is like, punk was a very derogatory term. The prison slang definition is what people were intending when they called kids punks. And so the punk scene said, yeah, we'll take that label and we'll turn it around on you.
And it is exactly what they did.
Jeez. I'm looking at the list of Wikipedia punk rock genres, and yeah, ska punk.
Yeah.
Whoever heard of that one? No.
Did I ever tell you there is a ska song? I went to a punk show, a punk ska show when I was in my 20s with my friend Bronwyn. She and I went to the show, and it was this band called Let's Go Bowling.
Let's Go Bowling, yep.
And so we saw them, but there were a couple of opening acts. One of the opening acts was Mexi-CAN, which is a satanic ska band.
Yeah.
And the song that I remember from that show was the Bumblebee Tuna song. Yum, yum, Bumblebee Tuna.
Yeah, see, there is that kind of like energy of...
Because there is an energy about punk.
So long as the energy is there, then you can do it. And like the only reason I never went to that many shows is because of my stupid sensory issues.
Yeah.
Which I didn't figure out till later. It's like, oh, it's because anything louder to a certain point just doesn't sound like anything to me. So
yeah, I think you joined me once or twice at the Fine Line, but it wasn't a pleasant experience for you.
No,
because I used to go there and hang out. It wasn't punk; it was more of a goth industrial sort of scene. But
it was goth industrial, and it was like an all ages place, right?
Yeah, the person who owned the place had some questionable stuff in his history.
No way.
Yeah.
People who owned a place in Tucson had some questionable stuff.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yep. What?
The whole state of Arizona.
You look under any rock, you're going to find things you don't want to see.
The guy who did the brands for...
Yeah, the meat rack. Yeah.
The meat rack. Yeah. That's kind of a punk rock concept, but it was like...
It was gross, yeah.
Yeah, it was just one of those things you go there and visit and see the spectacle. And
you want to go to a gross hookup place, go there. Not my thing. Yeah.
Like I said, I went there once with my sketchbooks.
Oh.
And just kind of watched people and saw the whole thing go down, where I didn't take the sex museum tour that God gave. That's the guy's name who's had his name changed to God.
Jim Anderson, We wanted you to call him God, but
yeah. And actually they were on the People's Court. I think there was a People's Court episode with God on it.
Yeah, it probably was good for business.
Yeah. Had to do with the branding, I think. Actual branding, like you do cattle.
If you got his little brand of his little profile, then you'd get a drink discount for the rest of your life or something.
Right. Someone said free beer, but I don't know if it's free.
I don't think. Yeah. There's free, and then there's free, and then he probably walked it back.
There were far more takers to that than I thought would be, but whatever. The one thing that I thought was just slightly clever was they had a condom machine in the bathroom. And whenever anyone used the condom machine, there was a little light that would appear behind the bar. And then the bartender would see that light. And then when the person walked out, they'd turn on a big siren alerting everyone that someone bought condoms. I mean,
I'd heard that was specifically in the women's restroom.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to the meat rack one time, but it was during the safety of the afternoon times.
Yeah.
With our mutual acquaintance, Mitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was back during the Cappuccinos days, like him and somebody else that worked there. They were like, yeah, we got to go check out the meat rack. And like, so we went, and even when there were only were there like 3 people there who were like the diehard regulars, and they're pretty lubricated at like 2:00 in the afternoon. And they wanted us to go on their rafting trip with them. Come on, you should come. We go river rafting with us. And I'm like, what?
No.
I don't want to help you not drown.
Anyway, back to punk. Punk is an attitude, and it's anything you want it to be. I agree with that. I think people think that it is inherently political, but it really isn't necessarily. It can be, like you said.
It can be. Yeah, like it can be. There's definitely there's like the anarcho-punk.
Yeah.
Which some of those guys are like definitely reading up on their Murray Bookchin and Emma Goldman and stuff. They're not all the big, let's just break stuff. They're the ones like going, no, we're like thinking about different ways to run society. And then you go like, okay. But I mean, that might be like more of a Portland thing because, I lived in this house with like 4 roommates.
Okay.
One of them was kind of in a Riot Girl punk band. A couple of them were like veterans of the punk scene, but they were like, everybody was like 24, 25. So they were tired of cleaning up other people's messes. So everybody would kind of just like keep after their own stuff. So the kitchen was never a problem. But so I sort of like learned a little bit about like, oh, this is what it's like to live with lesbians and weird anarchists.
This is what it's like to live with lesbians and anarchists.
It was pretty great. Yeah, I'd highly recommend it.
Especially the clean ones.
The ones that have already lived in crappy punk houses and are tired of that and just want to be like, look, I'm just going to like go to my own room and the common areas will be decent. And like, that's it had a little bit of the feel of the young ones. I guess they didn't have any lesbians in the young ones, unless you count Rick.
And I don't think Madness came over and played every once in a while.
One time... No, not Madness, but my roommate's band, Testosterone. Yeah.
Okay.
That happened one time.
They came over and played?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a house show there when I lived there.
How long did you stay there?
It was like maybe 6 months.
It was an interesting social thing for you.
Yeah, and like they were like really into educating me about workplace politics and unionizing, and it was like crazy because I was working at Powell's Books, and I just started there, and this was when they were like in their first big unionizing push. And since I was like a newbie, it was like, what? And I was from Arizona. So in Arizona, like
Right to work.
the number one in union busting. So I was like, what is a union? So it was like outside of my concept of like, how would this even work? But so it was interesting to see that happening. I think everybody else in that house, like this was 2000, and everybody else had been at the WTO riots in Seattle in 1999.
Oh, okay.
So they were that kind of punk, the eco and social justice terrorists and all that. I mean,
They would say warriors, right?
warriors. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's right. This was before 9/11. So
Yeah.
it was back when terrorists meant something cool. No, okay, no, that's not true at all. No, one of them was he was involved with this program called Cop Watch, which was basically, you know, trying to just like put a lot of scrutiny on the police department and
Okay.
you know, just in general. So there was a big May Day march. The parent union that was helping with the organizing at the bookstores, the ILWU, which is the International Longshore and Warehouse Workers Union, which is not quite as socialist as the IWW, but pretty close.
Okay.
Like, or at least they were. That's their roots. So if that means anything to anybody, but it's just kind of funny because like usually they're like representing people who work at the ports, and they're like, yeah, we'll move into retail. So they had their big meeting in Portland, and so they said, yeah, we're going to join the May Day march. And then it turned into like a big conflict with the police, and there was like tear gas and stuff. And my one housemate, his picture ended up being on the front page of the local newspaper.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, oh my God, you could never answer the door. And like he had to dye his hair. Like he was like totally like reacted so hard, dyed his hair black, and like you didn't see him in the daytime for a while. I was like
the Red Door episode of the IT Crowd, like that.
Yeah, exactly, kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. But he was but he was just like some skinny nerd who graduated from Reed College.
Yeah, it's like no one's gonna know.
Yep. I mean, it's like, well,
no one cares.
Cops can be jerks if you
That's true. I
keep
think that
getting on their case, you know, like.
That
I mean,
might be that, but they wouldn't be I mean, they know where he lives, so I mean, it's like, you know,
it was interesting. Like I said, some parts of it reminded me of the Young Ones,
which definitely had a punk, like your stereotypical punk rocker.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Vivian.
That's who it was.
Vivian.
Right?
Oh yeah, he was like the fashion punk, the spiky hair and the studs in his forehead.
Yeah, but they were all a little bit punk, you know, against the grain sort of.
Yeah, like they were all, and it could be said that they were all sort of punk, except for Mike.
The straight man.
He was like the perhaps involved in organized crime. And so I guess that was kind of punk. Rick was like the activist punk, the art punk, getting upset about how they were always showing Cliff Richard on TV. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And Neil was kind of like the hippie punk. Ooh.
Yep. Oh, the young ones.
The young ones. So yeah, if you could just watch the young ones. Watch it for the episodes that Emma Thompson show up on. Yeah.
How many were those?
I think there was just one, but I mean there was like 6 episodes altogether or something.
Right. But
Yeah.
didn't they did have sort of it felt sort of like a combo variety show / sitcom.
Yeah, they were just kind of messing with everything.
Some sort of interesting hybrid.
Yeah, it was. They were messing with formats and messing with expectations. So
Yeah.
in that sense,
It was definitely punk rock.
it was definitely punk rock. Punks loved it.
Yep. Are there any other TV shows you think of?
Oh, when I think of punk,
Yeah.
TV shows. Well,
The only one I think of is Punky Brewster, but that has nothing to
Punky
do with
Brewster.
punk rock.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
That's the only one that comes to mind.
TV shows.
I think now, if you're talking from a standpoint of against the grain, you've got a lot of these shows appearing along with a lot of garbage, but on your streaming platforms, I think.
Oh yeah.
They just like, yeah, we're doing this. That's it. And then it becomes whatever it becomes. And I think that's kind of we're going to do this and then put it out there and we don't care what happens. It's just out there.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on punk as a suffix. I brought this up at the early part of the show. What are your thoughts on punk as a suffix?
Oh, you mean like when we're like cyberpunk and steampunk?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's that that whole sort of thing about the cyberpunk and the steampunk and the eco-punk and solar punk. There's a lot of different
Daft Punk.
Daft Punk.
Yeah, I forgot about Daft Punk, but they were a band.
They weren't punk though.
They weren't punk, but the reason they got their name was because
They got panned in a review, right?
they had another band and they were called a bunch of Daft Punks or something to that effect. And
then they were like, yeah, we're going to own it. Sure. So then in essence, they transcended punk.
yeah. But I mean, that's sort of the attitude. It's like,
yeah, it is the attitude.
You gonna do this? Well, middle finger.
Oh, yeah. Punk shows. Like Max Headroom, 15 minutes into the future.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably legit. Because I was like, it went to the cyberpunk, which, that was like a science fiction genre.
Yeah. The Max Headroom series in the US featuring a journalist. But you're talking about the one that was the UK version.
I thought there was only one version.
It was like a variety show.
There was a talk show. Oh, right. No, yeah, you're right. There was the variety show was the talk show. Sorry.
Right. You were talking about the US version of the...
I only saw it on Bravo. I don't know.
I remember watching it on one of the major networks. I don't remember which one, though.
Oh, it was on ABC for...
Yeah, that was it.
A season and a half.
Max Headroom was also in a video called Paranomia.
Yeah, Max Headroom, he did a lot of stuff. Okay, so yeah. Max Headroom TV show. Okay, I guess 15 minutes in the future was that was 20 minutes in the future. Jeez, I can't even remember. That was the Max Headroom 20 minutes in the future was a British TV movie.
Okay.
For Channel 4. So that wasn't the talk show. It was basically in a sense like the pilot for the American show.
Yeah, and then after that is when 2 days after the TV movie was broadcast, Max hosted Channel 4's The Max Headroom Show.
Yeah.
He was the spokesperson for New Coke.
New Coke.
Which we talked about on a previous episode.
That's right, New Coke, which was as fake as Max Headroom's hair.
Yeah, exactly. The interesting thing with that, it looks like it was computer generated, but it really wasn't. It was makeup.
It was makeup and VCR tricks.
Yep.
Yeah, just
digital toaster. Get out the digital toaster.
Yeah. Yeah. The analog toaster. Yeah. No. Was it just called video toaster?
Yeah, it was called video toaster. I for some reason I just call it digital toaster.
Yeah. So basically, they were just doing analog effects on.
But it was effective. It was really
makeup.
kind of.
It was effective. It's cool.
Yeah, Matt. What's his name? Matt Frewer. Is that what it is?
Matt Frewer. Yeah.
Matt Frewer. He was a pretty decent actor. It was, just like
no, he was good.
He
was a really funny guy. He also had like a show on CBS.
Yeah, Doctor.
I like that show. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. And it looks like it lasted 2 years. Do you want to move on to punk rock video games?
Yeah.
I platinumed. Do you know when I say platinumed? You know what that means?
You sold 100 million albums.
No. Close.
Okay. I don't know what it means.
In the PlayStation Network, they've got achievements.
Okay.
And you do certain things in the game. You accumulate a point score and you get these medals. Platinuming is getting all of the achievements. And when you do that, you get a platinum, which is a highest point score medal. I do it only for games where I am really a big fan. And that's what I did for this game, which is called Shadows of the Damned, Hella Remastered, which is a remaster of the Shadows of the Damned game from 2011, developed by Grasshopper Manufacturer and published by Electronic Arts, produced by Shinji Mikami and written by Goshe Suda, or as he's known, Suda51.
Well, Suda51.
Yes, not Sudafed. A lot of people, not only in Japan, but also in the US, refer to him as a punk rock game developer. And his company, Grasshopper Manufacture, prides themselves in sort of the embodiment, the spirit of punk rock. So this game, one of my favorite games, hadn't played it since 2011 when it came out. I sent you an article I think it was an interview with Suda51. What did you think of his thoughts? He calls it the spirit of punk rock. Like you said, it's kind of what you make of it, right?
Exactly. So from that line, I was like, yeah, this can be. Yeah. So basically, he's like, I don't need to be confined by conventions.
Which is really interesting given the history of Shadows of the Damned, which were heavily impacted by Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
And I think that was also mentioned in the article. He says that he would have liked to have done it his way more, but he learned a lot about how your big companies operate from that experience working with Electronic Arts. So what do you think of the label of punk rock game developer? In some way, shape, or form, is an independent game. I mean, isn't that sort of a do-it-yourself kind of punk rock feeling thing?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, like, like I said, I had to go to my friend who has legitimate punk scene cred to be like, yeah, can I talk about this? And he's like, this is, yeah, you get out of it what you put into it. So it's like, overall, punk rock's not going to exclude people. Like certain individuals might decide, yeah, I'm going to kick your ass because you're not punk rock enough. But those aren't all the individuals. And usually those people aren't actually welcome in the scene for very long.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, that's not what we're about.
Go start your own scene.
Like, okay, it's like, if you want that, why don't you go hang out with those guys and you guys can all beat each other up. They can find that if they want it.
Dungeon Clawler is a 10-person development team and they are independent, small group.
I would say, that kind of thing. It's just, kind of punk rock. It's kind of punk rock. Like within, like if you look, like I started glancing at the Wikipedia page of all the punk rock subgenres. It's like, yeah, it goes all over the place. Yeah, what's more important is the energy and the attitude than actually fitting a certain aesthetic.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when he was working on Shadows of the Damned, the original, it says Suda51 presented a concept for PlayStation 3 called Kuriyama, which is a nonlinear action adventure inspired by the worrying and confused universe of the Czech writer Franz Kafka, whom Suda admires. It was canceled and pieces of it were put into Shadows of the Damned.
Okay.
Although it doesn't feel like it to me necessarily. Did I tell you what Shadows of the Damned is, the storyline?
I think you did, but it was a while ago.
Okay.
Shadows of the Damned.
Yeah, you play a Mexican demon hunter named Garcia Hotspur.
That's right, Garcia. Yeah, no, that was pretty punk rock.
Yeah, well, I mean, his aesthetic too. It's kind of like,
Yeah, no, I could see.
You got your tattoos and you're in the game. One of the things he says, his gun's name is Johnson, and it's not only his gun, but it's also his light and his motorcycle. It's like in the demon world, this Johnson can transform into things. And he talks to him.
Yeah.
And so
awesome. He talks to his Johnson?
He talks to his Johnson. No, he talks to Johnson, which is his gun in the demon world.
Yeah, which is also his Johnson.
Well, but it's kind of like a partnership. They work together. But anyway, at one point, Johnson's saying, "Are you sure you want to climb this tower?" And Garcia says, "Johnson, I'm a Mexi-CAN, not a Mexi-CAN't." It does have this sophomoric kind of, I mentioned about how language, right? Sometimes you've got your, not derogatory, but I mean, what some would consider obscenities and things, but used in a way that's sort of interesting and creative and fits into the story. Like some games just use swear words for the sake of using them to sound edgy.
Mm-hmm.
But this, actually, the writing, it fits into the characters of Garcia and his gun, Johnson, who embark on this adventure because Garcia's girlfriend is abducted by Fleming, who is the king of the demon world. And he tells Garcia that he will continue to kill her over and over again so he can watch. Garcia is trying to rescue her, but along the way, she dies in a whole bunch of different ways and stuff. And there's a boss fight involving something about her and her story that it doesn't really say explicitly, but through revealing stories, like little storybook stories about the different bosses that you face, you learn about Paula. Garcia found this girl in a dumpster behind the grocery store, nursed her back to health, and then he fell in love. That's the thing. He found a girlfriend in a dumpster.
Found a girlfriend in a dumpster. That's
how punk rock is that? That's pretty punk rock.
Yeah.
Finding your girlfriend in a dumpster.
That's something that happens. Yep.
I have heard.
Yeah. I've heard some stories. Usually it's both young lovers are diving in the same dumpster, you know. That's how they meet. You're like, I wanted that package of expired donuts, but let's share it.
She was discarded, apparently.
Discarded. Yeah, no, I get it.
Either discarded or she was hiding, crawled in there herself because she mistook it for a Cybertruck. Yeah. It is a dumpster. I mean, it is pretty much a Cybertruck.
Yeah. Oh, Cybertruck. Okay.
So as it turns out, you finish the game, you rescue Paula. Oh, by the way, Suda51 games, their characters have really oddly specific loves of certain foods.
Yeah.
He likes a Mexican food, but his favorite is Paula's caprese salad. That's like his favorite food. There was another game that I played called Killer is Dead. There was an assassin, also a Suda51 game where the character ate only hard-boiled eggs. That's all he ate. Yeah.
What?
Talk about cholesterol, like you do. So the whole story, he's trying to rescue his girlfriend, who he has to watch die over and over and over again. He beats Fleming, and then his girlfriend, who you think was the unbreakable huntress. You suspect, as you're playing through this game, that she is, Paula, is the unbreakable huntress. And the story goes that Fleming used her as an example because she faced off with him and was confident that she could beat him, but didn't. He separated all of her limbs from her body, tortured her, but he made her his mistress because of her nature. Then she escapes, and then she sees Garcia, gets rescued by him. They fall in love, but still Fleming is trying to drag her to hell or drag her to the demon world over and over and over again. At the end, once you fight the final boss, which is actually her who's angry at you, and then you apologize for not getting to her sooner and having to die over and over and over again for you. At the end, you go back to your apartment and you get a phone call from Fleming saying something threatening, and then Garcia reveals that he's in love with the mistress of the Lord of the Demons, and he will do this over and over and over and over again for love, and that is the reason he's doing it. And when I played that back in 2011, I thought that was one of the most romantic things I'd ever heard, and it kind of was like, oh my gosh, that's what I got from the game. That's the reason why he's doing this. That's the story, and I like that story. But Suda51 has a lot of interesting, strange games as far as the story. There's the one, No More Heroes, which is this guy named Travis Touchdown that wants to be the best assassin. So he's got to go up against other assassins along the way. And it's kind of a weird sort of genre. And I guess the attitude is against the grain in punk rock. There was also a game that never got released here that I've told people about called Michigan Report from Hell. So Michigan Report from Hell. Do you know where it takes place?
Michigan?
No, Chicago.
Oh, that's wrong. Lake Michigan?
Yeah. Something happens where something falls into Lake Michigan, and then all of Chicago starts turning into these hideous sort of grotesque monster things. And you are part of a news crew, and you've got the person who's the newswoman, and you've got to film all this stuff happening while you're sort of telling her what to do and save her, if you want to, from the monsters that are attacking, people being transformed into monsters and stuff because of this asteroid that...
Yeah.
It never came out here, but it was accidentally released in the UK. Somehow Suda51 had no idea it was released in the UK, and it got released there. Not a great game, but interesting and against the grain and trying new stuff. So I can see where he gets that moniker of punk rock.
Yeah.
Even though people swear up and down, he's not punk rock. People like judging, I think.
People should get in their time machine and go back to 1976. Find out whether they like the Sex Pistols or the Ramones better. Get that out of their system. And then they can come back and talk to me about what video games punk rock or not.
Okay, so prerequisite, you need a time machine. Shut up until you get a time machine.
Shut up till you get a time machine. I don't need to hear it.
What is your final thought on the word punk?
My final thought on the word punk is that, man, I've lost my thesis statement. No, I'm so punk rock, I don't need a thesis statement.
So you've embraced your punkness.
My punkness of not liking thesis statements.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how punk rock I am. I get C's in my college papers because they don't understand why I wrote that.
That matches your tattoo.
No thesis statements.
That's what it says on your tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of had the punk rock aesthetic when we met, I think. That's beside the point. My final thoughts on the word punk. I'm going to parrot what you said. It can be whatever. It's an expression. It's an attitude. There is no wrong answer. You get out of it what you put into it. That is my final thought. And I think your buddy, what was his name?
Joe. Yeah, Joe Beal. Yeah.
Tell him you get a big thumbs up for that.
He saved the podcast.
He saved the podcast. He saved the podcast from talking about steampunk and clockwork. And
we couldn't even talk about Formica punk, which is too bad because that sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Maybe if we do the word Formica.
We can tie it in with dragon, maybe.
Okay. Dragon.
So, thank you. The Formica dragon.
Don't get me started on dragon. We got to save it.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's save it.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, audience, for joining us on this week's episode of the Too Vague Podcast. My name is Ben.
My name's Andrew.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.